Hi there, my name is Lisette Lerma, and my thesis is called Disney's Brown Princess Club, an inquiry of representation in children's animation. So before getting into what I mean by the Brown Princess Club, I thought I would introduce myself and my motivation for doing the research that I do. Like I said, my name is Lisette Lerma, and I'm a first-generation Mexican American. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Growing up, I always really loved Disney, specifically Disney princesses, as you can see by this collection of photos that I have here. And while I had a really great childhood, I always had a really complicated identity issue, just being really uncomfortable in my skin, uncomfortable being brown bodied. Eventually, I grew up, I went to college, found feminist studies, and I grew out of that. But it wasn't until reading Bell Hooks's Black Looks, Race and Representation that I began to understand part of the reason for what I felt in my childhood. So Hooks wrote, I remember how we cried for her, for our unrealized desiring selves. She was tragic because there was no place in the cinema for her, no loving pictures. She too was absent image. It was better then that we were absent, for when we were there, it was humiliating, strange, sad. We cried all night for you, for the cinema that had no place for you. And like you, we stopped thinking it would one day be different. So it was after reading that I began to understand how big a role Disney actually played in my identity construction as a child, and wondering whether things would have been different for me if I had had the opportunity to resonate with the media that I absorbed as a child, if I had seen a reflection of myself in the depiction of a Disney princess, would I have been more comfortable and at home in my brown body? And coming to the realization that I was feeling all these things is what led me to my ultimate argument, which is that as an organization leading the way in children's animation, the Disney Princess franchise must begin to consider the ramifications of faulty representation for people of color in their productions. My thesis is largely concerned with how the Disney Princess franchise in the past and in the present implement racist and sexist stereotypes in their productions, and what the consequences are for the children of color who engage with their films. I titled my thesis Disney's Brown Princess Club as a kind of commentary as to the fact that there are only 4 princesses of color out of the 11 total, all of which are extremely problematic and outdated and inauthentic in their representations of women of color and our experiences in the real world. So on this slide, I have a couple of different things that I talk about more in my thesis, which probably the most provocative would have to be the one in the top left corner, this screenshot or a collection of screenshots from Disney's Aladdin, the 1992 version, where Jasmine is in this red outfit with this bra, and she's kind of just caressing her body and her frame with her hands. And the photo really does speak for itself. It's very clearly sexualizing the first princess of color that Disney actually created, and obviously went on to start this entire franchise, which the 4 princesses of color, Mulan, Jasmine, Pocahontas, Tiana, are also pictured here on this slide. I'll go ahead and let you guys take a look at the rest of the things I have out here, but I'm going to move on to the next slide. I think people too often trivialize the power and impact of children's animation because people seem to think that children don't find meaning in the media they absorb. I think if you ask anyone who's had a child, they would tell you just how much children actually engage with the messages they receive from the moving pictures in front of them. So I frame my research as a call to action for both consumers and creators. As consumers, it's our job to demand content that we feel speaks to our real world experiences as women of color from the Disney Princess franchise, without which there certainly won't be any incentive to create more diverse or relatable productions. I want to offer my analysis to consumers who might not know exactly where the problem in representation at Disney lies. If there's no demand or comprehension as to the needs of consumers, then there's no incentive to start the trailblazing work of authentic and representative productions for people of color within the Disney Princess franchise. Productions with familiar faces and stories which feel reminiscent of our realities, with historical context and racial markers other than skin tone. So as I wrap up, I hope you've enjoyed my little PowerPoint and that maybe I've sparked some interest into the topic of representation for people of color within the Disney Princess franchise or even larger in the Disney sphere. But I wanted to say thank you for your time and for listening, and a special thanks to Lori and the department for being so accommodating and helpful during my time here at UCSB, but especially this last quarter. It's a crazy time to be a student and to be graduating, but I hope everyone is healthy and safe. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.